Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're live now. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michaels. Glad that you're here. We have some special guests on the show tonight. Craig's with us. Craig's waving. Sean is with us.
Why I got into HR.
And
I like liking people.
Boom. Yeah. I'm glad to know that the commercials work. That's fantastic. Don't skip the commercials, by the way. Get extra money if you don't skip them. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but don't skip them. We've got Paragringos with us. He's also with us tonight. These guys are moderating the chat, and a very special guest, Yancy, is with us. Woohoo! Allie has been recommended highly by a few very important pilots, and so we had to have her on immediately. And so I'm glad that she's here. She is a paramotor pilot, and she works at Aviator in Florida, the place of wonders. And so we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff paragliding involved. Before we move on, I want to take care of the order of business and say, first of all, thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you for watching this channel. And thank you for subscribing and being a part of what's happening in the paramotoring and free flight community. We are an awesome community, by the way. And pilots are the coolest people on the planet. And so I count it a privilege to be able to hang out with you guys every Thursday night. If you're interested in checking out some of the other shows, some of the other people that we've interviewed in the past, all of the episodes that we've ever done, this is episode 114. Every episode can be found on the website, paraglidingtalk.com. Go check out the website. All kinds of good stuff on there, resources to help you to be a better pilot, and maybe you might learn something that will help you. If you want to support the channel and you want to support this show on Patreon or PayPal, you can do that for something as small as $5 an episode. You can learn something that might save your life or save your gear. And every single show, I learn something. And I know you can too. Support the show on Patreon or PayPal. Links in the description. This show is sponsored by a few different great organizations. One of the greatest is Resurgence PPG. And so I want to just give you this connection. If you're interested in supporting our men and women of uniform, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the guys there at Resurgence PPG. And by donating, you're sponsoring those who have put their lives on the line for our freedom. So reach out to Todd Scandrett at resurgenceppg.com. They're trying to sponsor 20 candidates in 2020. Let's make that happen. Show is also brought to you by Torrey Pines Glider Port. If you want to learn how to free fly in the most beautiful place in the United States, you can reach out to Max Marion or any one of the guys at flytorrey.com. The show is also brought to you by the Lone Star Paramotor Group. Lone Star Paramotor, if you're in the Lone Star state of Texas, you can reach out to Ron Turan and his team for world-class training. Check out the website at lonestarparamotor.com. We'll mention some of the other sponsors here in a bit. I'm so excited tonight to have paraglidingtalk.com with Allie. Glad you're here, Allie. Now, I want to ask the first question, which is, how did you find out about paramotoring?
So I have known Eric Farewell for, I'm probably close to 8 years now, probably maybe even longer. So I knew him when he was just starting Aviator, and I had no interest in the sport. I mean, I thought it was cool, but I didn't ever have any interest in flying. And then a couple years pass and I come to him to have help finding a job. And he's like, oh, well, come work for Aviator. I'm like, no, I'm in all these other jobs. I ended up working for Aviator, ended up quitting all my other jobs and learned how to fly. And that's where I am now.
Who was the most influential instructor in the beginning, and who do you bounce off of now?
That's tough because
I knew.
learned at Aviator.
I'm coming with the tough questions right out of the gate. Who's your favorite?
I don't have a favorite. I think, and I want to say that. So AJ was my main instructor going through class. I was terrified. I didn't want to fly. I have more face plants than anyone else I know. And it was just, it was not something that came easily to me. So he worked through all of those with me. And then I started going through different training with everyone else. And each time it's been like, oh, you teach differently. You do this, you do that. So Ross has worked with me on wing handling, harder turns, things of that sort. You've got Mike, who has worked with me on kiting skills. Eric, who has personally worked with me on, I don't know, everything random. Every single one of these guys, Fletch with kiting, AJ has come back and he's helped fine tune some of my stuff. Travis, who works with One Up Adventures, has helped me. Kyle has helped me. So I don't think I have one instructor. I think that everyone I've come to has helped me.
Okay. Who's your go-to now? Who do you call if you have something? Because you're the parts person, aren't you?
Yes.
So who do you call for parts?
If I can't fix it, if I can't fix it, then I go straight to Ross or Alex, who is our head technician.
Okay. All right.
So parts, those are the people to call, but each one is a different person to call.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the learning curve. So you started off at a very convenient place to learn. Some people don't have the convenience of learning on grass. I learned on some dirt on the side of a mountain.
No, thanks.
And there's a lot of sites like that in Southern California because they regulate everything to the max here. So if you want to get the low cost version, you have to go to certain places. My question is, what would you say the benefits were for you to be employed there? And then what would you say that you took away that maybe somebody doesn't get the privilege to work there and get trained there?
My first 10 flights were in 3 different states. That doesn't normally happen in training.
Wow.
So I started off with my towing. I got towed twice, like on 2 separate occasions because they were all terrible because I didn't know what I was doing. So it fine-tuned my skills leading up to my first flight. By my 5th flight, I flew in Georgia. And by my 7th or 8th flight, I flew in Virginia. So that, had I not traveled with Ross as an instructor or Eric as an instructor, there's no way I would have been able to do that. So that's super special treatment and should never have probably happened. It happened and it was awesome.
And that was the first major flight. So you were just going with the crew, like you RV camping, the whole thing?
Yep. What an experience. It hooked me.
Wow. And was that going to fly-ins or was it just going to different alliance stuff?
It actually
Things?
was neither of the above. The first one was in Georgia and it was like a small get together up in Georgia. And so there were a bunch of paramotor pilots, but we don't count it as a fly-in because it wasn't quite big enough. The second one was in Virginia and we were up there for the Overland Expo. So I got to fly with the Expedition Overland guys, which was really cool. So that was fun.
That's super cool. That's a pretty big event now.
It is. It was amazing.
So was there a bunch of flying going on there too?
Nope, just like 4 or 5 of us.
Oh,
But
so you guys were the stars over there.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So were you guys all aviatored out too?
We were.
Oh man.
Yeah, because think about it. You're flying and add it in with your overland and your vacationing. It's like the perfect match. Like how do you not want to do that?
Yeah.
So,
I did my first one when we went to the Salt Sea Flying, and that was amazing.
oh, that'd be cool.
The overland, I want to say there's like 100,000 or something. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some pictures of that. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about safety. What are you doing now that you say, you know what, this is something that I'm a safer pilot because I added this to my repertoire?
I have added power floats.
Oh, nice.
Florida, there are bodies of water no matter where you fly. I didn't think much of it when I first started because I'm like, oh, it's 2 or 3 inches of water. Nothing's going to happen. All it takes is one accident.
Yep.
So I've added power floats. The next investment is a reserve. My flights are pretty short, pretty much around the field, things like that. Nothing crazy yet, but having reserve is super important. I think that's absolutely the next investment that needs to be made.
What is the next investment?
A reserve.
Oh, reserve.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my questions. Do you fly with a reserve? How do you feel about that, flying without a reserve?
I feel like you have to choose pretty optimal flying conditions. And if it's even remotely, although I say that every time you go up, it's a risk. And I know that every single time I go up, I'm taking a risk. So going up without a reserve is not the most intelligent decision, but it's having one is my absolute next priority.
Would you say that it's an influence thing that people don't fly with them? That
No, I
they are
think
influenced by other people to not?
maybe, but I think it's more of a preference. I think everybody has enough material and like reference out there that they should know whether or not it would work for them. I think that depending on who they follow, you're right. I guess you're right. Whoever they choose to watch and follow is who they're going to model after.
Do you have your eyes on a certain reserve, certain type of reserve?
The ozone square 2 reserve.
And how did you come to that decision?
I'm familiar with it. I know how it packs. I know how it works. I'm comfortable with that idea, and I'm comfortable with ozone.
Plug for ozone. Get that? Looking for the ozone sponsorship.
Yes.
Actually, that leads me to another question. You have a sponsor. You're sponsored by Pearhead Fly Company. Is that right?
I am. It's
That's
very,
pretty
very
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty amazing.
I'm excited.
So I have another question for you. What is your preference on a wing? What are you flying?
I am currently flying the Ozone Spider, the Spider 3. I love it. I have been in fairly crappy, bumpy situations, and I felt like, whoa, okay, this is totally safe. I've watched videos upon videos upon videos of wing collapses, and ozone almost every single time reinflates. That to me is super reassuring to watch. I've also spoken with Amelia, who is on the paramotor side of the wing, the testing and building them, deciding what they look like, designs. She makes me have so much more faith in the company. When you hear how much work goes into designing these wings, it's like, whoa, you put a lot of work into these. I am impressed. So I think that's pretty neat. And so, yes, I love ozone. I really do.
They are leaps and bounds above the next wing maker in manufacturing. Now, I really believe that they take their products seriously, and this is not some biasing thing. They're not a sponsor of mine, but every time I fly in ozone now. I love it. It is it's an amazing piece of machinery. The thing is they've had so much time to work through the hiccups and create the best. And they've got like all the superpowers that work for them. Mm-hmm. I think they kind of grabbed from some of the other makers and took some of the best guys. And so they really do have a monopoly when it comes to making wings. So let's move to another. We've kind of smashed through some of the questions. When it comes to advanced training, SIV type stuff, how much experience do you have in that? And if none, what's your plans?
None at the moment. Reserve is super important for that. I think when it comes to that, I'm still trying to get comfortable flying the wing just on a normal day. I don't think that I'm set for any of the advanced stuff. I want to be able to spot land and know that, hey, I can spot land here. I can do this. I want to build the confidence and the basic skills before going into wingovers, which sounds exciting, but I want to build the basics. So that leads me to the next point. When I get there, when I'm comfortable with being able to spot land and being able to take off in no wind, and because I'm not there yet, that's when I think that I'll start looking further into options. I'd say give me a couple months.
And so what's your go-to for a motor?
The Atom 80, super lightweight. When I first started, I was flying the Fly Products Eclipse with the Atom 80 because I could not carry the weight of a paramotor. I was like, this is a joke. This is, I'm active. I just couldn't carry the weight. I finally was able to move into flying the Parajet Maverick with the Atom 80, and I enjoyed it. And then I switched back and I started flying Fly Products. I started flying their Rider, which is what Craig flies. By the way, the harness on that is like primo.
Nice.
So I'm back and forth between motors, which thank goodness I have that opportunity being an aviator.
Okay.
I can be picky and fly them all.
That's true. You can kind of pull out some of the student stuff and mess around with that. That's a very nice convenience there.
Test flying.
Yeah. That is good. I didn't think of that.
It is important to inspect the gear.
Yeah.
See? Yep. Inspecting gear, making sure it runs.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Warranty work.
I know. What a great job.
Blake Pigeon just dropped a super chat, $5. Thank you, Blake Pigeon. You are the man. Also, I do want to say follow Allie on her social media. She's got a YouTube channel. There's a link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to her channel. And while you're at it, Blake Pigeon has a pretty cool channel too. You should follow him. He's going on an adventure soon. I hope you're still going for it, Blake. I know that there's kind of a setback with this whole shutdown, all this nonsense. We won't talk about that because the last video got demonetized because I talked about it. Here's a question out of the chat where I caught it just in time. Jim, he said, question for Allie. How many different types of paramotors does Aviator PPG offer for trying out during training, and how many do you offer to buy?
So everything that we offer in training, we actually offer for purchase. So we have right now Fly Products and Parajet. So we have, we will sell any of the Parajet motors, but we only have the Maverick in stock. We also have the Fly Products Eclipse and Rider. So those are the top three that we have. Either can be switched with the 185 or the Atom 80. So Vitarazi, we use all Vitarazi.
I like Vitarazi. Linda Anderson just gave $50 the super chat. Thank you. That's my mom.
She's the best.
She is the best. Thanks, Mom. That was really nice. I'm going to definitely have to. She's working on getting a webcam and all this stuff, and she keeps texting me every day. So she's going to come on the after show. She's pretty excited about that.
That'd be awesome.
She's my PR person.
Hey, that $50 can go towards Sean's stash.
Roll of toilet paper and a bowl of rice.
Oh,
Yeah.
for Sean's toilet paper. Yeah, toilet paper's expensive right now. And if you guys don't know, I have Sean in this room right there. He's all he does is just take the names out of the chat and he puts them in a wheel and spins the wheel. That's his job. He just stays in the padded room. Yep.
It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. But
I am safe.
It is for Sean.
I am safe.
It is for Sean. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your mistakes, shall we?
Sure.
That was nervous laughter. We
I
all make
heard
mistakes.
I heard the voice crack
Yes.
there.
Yes.
That was really good.
Before we all start to get prideful and say, yeah, let's talk about our mistakes. This show exists because I screwed up so much. I had to make a show just to kind of make my conscience feel better.
Especially after the burrito incident.
Terrible.
Woo.
That was not my fault. That was not my fault.
No, absolutely not. No.
I mean, who does that? Who eats a burrito and then goes on a whirlwind? My wife just gave $10 to YouTube.
She's the best too.
Golly. Thanks, babe.
Let's go for toilet paper.
YouTube literally just takes that. Thanks. Gave my money to YouTube.
Took $3 from you.
Yeah, exactly. What were we going to talk about again?
Mistakes. So I
That's
made a
right.
YouTube video. Believe it or not, the title was about face plants. So my training was pretty rocky, and it's not because of the teaching. It's because, one, I'm extraordinarily hard-headed. Two, I'm good at running. I'm good at biking to an extent when there's not a curb around. And I can't play sports with balls because I have no hand-eye coordination. So coming into the sport was not an easy task. I did a ton of face plants in the beginning, which anyone that says they haven't is totally lying, because it's happened. If you didn't do that, you did a butt landing, which I didn't do because I saved all of the props.
Oh, nice.
But more recently, I've actually moved into practicing no wind launches, and I am not good at them yet. So this
No wind launches. Hold on. What wing are you trying to no wind launch with?
a spider,
Okay. And that's you said 22 meter?
22.
22. Okay. Yeah.
So
That's an awesome wing, by the way. I did fly that wing at Salton Sea.
it's amazing.
It is amazing.
I'm excited for a smaller size, but it's amazing. Also, I might be the slowest one on the cross country, but I will not need any gas. So that's exciting. As for the no wind launches, this past week, I had damaged my lines 3 times and my prop 3 times, and I had to repair the prop 3 times. So I didn't destroy the prop. It was repairable, but it's one of those things. It's like, what am I doing wrong? How can I get past this? Because now I'm in that like curve where it's like, okay, I've hit this plateau. How do I pass it? How do I get past?
So 3 times lines went into the prop or the prop hit the ground on launch.
No, the lines went into the prop every time.
So you're still keeping throttle or something like that when you should have you should have killed it. And you don't have someone on radio saying, okay, kill it, kill it, kill it. You're doing it by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you feel it and by the time, see, I sympathize with you. I did the same thing. I didn't chop up somebody else's stuff because I don't have a paramotor yet. It was a no wind uphill launch. Should not be doing this, especially how new I am. But yeah, I know what you're saying, because you can't feel anything. There's no wind, there's no pressure, Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So what have you taken away from, what have you learned? Because a lot of people come to this show because they want to learn something that they can save money on or not make mistakes like that. What did you learn? And what can you give? What can you offer the people right now?
Prop repairs are fairly easy. As a matter of fact, Tom Kubat just put out a video. Oh, and I'm supposed to talk about how I flew above the clouds. We have to get to that. Please remind me.
Okay, I will.
So it's fairly easy to repair the prop. That was discouraging at first. I didn't know how difficult that was going to be. So that was exciting. It's not $500 every time you nick your prop. Lines on the the wing are not crazy expensive to repair.
How much are they?
$20 a line to send it off and get it repaired at 4 Winds. So
Okay.
and
so do you have to ship your wing to them?
Yes. drive it
And
down.
Oh,
They're
you
in
drive it
April.
down.
Yeah,
They're local. Okay, got it.
which is fantastic. Awesome people. But yeah, it was like $10 or $20 a line, which is $20 every time you nick a line, but it's cheap comparably speaking. So that was exciting. As far as the no wind launching, I learned that um, if your wing is not laid out properly and you try launching in a no wind situation and the wind is so slight, because it could be no wind on the ground and at 100 feet, the wind is blowing. So as soon as you bring your wing up, there could be wind. You could be going against it. You could go crosswind. So I learned to double check the wind. I also learned that you don't need to go to full power before the wing's above your head. Twice.
Okay. You
So,
don't need to go to full power before the wing is above your head. Okay.
no, it's more of get the wing up, use power to go forward. Make sure that you have the wing controlled, which I'm still learning. So that's exciting.
Let's talk about your kiting history.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go back to malfunctions and butt landings and stuff like that. At the half an hour mark, by the way, we're going to give something away. So if you're in the chat and you haven't said anything, you should say something because we're going to give away a t-shirt. And Sean's putting your name into the spinny wheel. Yeah.
That's how I ended up in my room.
That's right. In that room right there. Gosh, I'm so scattered. I almost said it. I almost said the
Don't do it.
I
Don't
know.
do it.
So close. I want to find something. I want to blame it on something.
The bunker. It's from being stuck in the bunker for too long. It happens in here all the time.
A lack of vitamin D.
I start drilling a little bit, and
Kiting.
sometimes snoring.
That's what it was. Kiting. How many hours of kiting had you had before you took your first flight?
2 weeks. So I started kiting far before I started class. I would probably kite 2 hours each day after work just because that was my favorite. That still is probably my favorite part. I love kiting. There's just something about walking the wing and not worrying about destroying it with prop. That's really kind of therapeutic. So I put a ton of hours in, and then I started class, and the prerequisites to the class are hours and hours of kiting. So I was fantastic at kiting by the time I took my first couple of flights. Does not mean that no wind launches got easier.
Yeah, they're weird, man. I'm not a fan, but you can make it work if you just have to be really jonesing to fly.
I know you can make it work, and
Yeah.
I will make it work. It's just a lot more practice.
Yeah.
So lots of kiting.
So killing the motor is the big takeaway. Killing your motor, and this is a personal question because I'm still trying to figure out the no wind launch myself. Killing it ahead of time so you don't.
Yeah, I think so the first 2 times that I had nicked the prop, I had killed the motor in time so that the lines were just the outer sheathing was frayed, so you can fix it, repair it, and still fly it until you get your replacement lines. The following time, I did not kill the motor in time, and you can hear it, and it's just one of those things that it's like gut wrenching. So between that and just by the time I turned around, my wing was still halfway behind me, and I'm at almost full power to get the wing going because I thought, oh, more power, faster, get the wing up, and I didn't. It had turned. I held 1A too far, so I started critiquing it. I think I held this A too far, and then it turned it, so it just didn't make for a good ending. But the kiting skills, so I need to practice kiting on no wind days, at least getting it off the ground.
Let's do a giveaway, shall we?
Yes.
By the way, last week Keith won a t-shirt. Keith, I just made your shirt today, so I'm going to ship it out with whoever wins the shirt tonight. So he watches the show every week.
Okay, here we
What
go.
kind of t-shirt is that?
This is
Toilet paper
wonderful.
t-shirt?
Are we ready?
Come and
Yep,
take it.
that's a toilet paper roll. That's right.
On a cannon.
You ready
Like
for the
that
spin,
one?
Robert?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, here we go. Fire in the hole. Oh, these people. Oh, who we got? Plainfield PPG.
Wow, that's funny. It has sound effects. That's the first time I ever heard it.
Oh, I'm glad that you heard it. They generally it does the sound effects. I don't know why I picked up this time, but
PPG, Plainfield PPG, you are the winner chicken dinner. Make sure that you reach out to me by going to the website paraglidingtalk.com and put the contact information in there. You can go to /contest to put your name in there and details so that I can send you a shirt. Actually, it's probably easier just to do the contact form. Yeah, Plainfield PPG, congratulations. This show is brought to you by iFly Indiana powered paragliding. If you're interested in flying paramotors, there's no better place to get the proper training than iflyindiana.com. Kevin and his team will get your feet off the ground. I appreciate their sponsorship. I know that they have a great school, so go check them out. At least go check out their website and say hello. Show is also brought to you by the Tri-State Skywalkers. If you're in the Indiana, Kentucky, or Ohio area, reach out to Brandon McCloud. I encourage you to join a flying club. This will help you grow in the sport. It'll make you a better pilot and a safer pilot. If you're interested in joining the Tri-State Skywalkers, you can reach out to Brandon McCloud. There's a link in the description. I also want to say thank you to Josh Bowden and his team at their school in Nebraska PPG. If you're interested in getting some top-notch training, that's the place to go. If you're in Nebraska, hands down, best place that you're going to go. Josh actually loaned me his gear so I could fly at the Salton Sea Flying, along with a couple other guys, Predator Paramotor, and yeah, that was super cool. Slips my mind. What's the guy's name that let me borrow his motor? I think he's here tonight. I think he's watching.
Tom.
No,
Bill,
it's
Bob.
Just keep naming names.
Chris.
Dave.
Not Chris.
David.
No.
Who let you borrow?
You know, I have a secret. You know, I like to go to Home Depot and walk in. You know, when they usually tell you, hey, how can I help you? I like to tell them, I'll go, can you tell me why I came here? And they'll be like, what? Can you remind me of what I came here for? And they always look at me like, and then I go, could you start naming stuff? Oh, it's so fun. My mom works at Home Depot. I like to harass the Home Depot people. Gosh, I can't remember his name. Oh, it's Dustin T. Meyer. Thanks, Dustin. He's in the chat right now. He's a champ. He was the one that trusted me first, for the record. Nobody else had seen me fly a paramotor at that point. And he was like, yeah, go ahead, take mine. And he literally let me fly his gear. And I was so stoked. Up until that point, everybody was kind of like, I might let him try it, but he might just waste I don't want him to break my prop. T. Meyer, he wasn't scared. What? Mom wants my shirt. I just sent you a shirt like this. This is a Blossom shirt, by the way. Randy. Clark Kent.
I'm still waiting on mine, but I'm just down the hallway.
You have to. Is the door open? It looks like your door's open. Oh, it's just cracked, maybe.
It's feeding time.
Is it feeding time right after the show? Slide him a plate. Okay, let's talk about close calls. Have you been in any situations where you felt like you're out of control, or maybe you left the ground and you didn't check the weather properly? And we'll talk about weather in a second. What were your takeaways? And let's talk about a close call where you were scared.
No details. But yes, one close call, nothing weather related. I got overconfident with a landing zone and realized that I should not be overconfident with my landings, which is what leads me to the fact that I want to fine tune my basic skills prior to learning anything super exciting.
Okay.
Just little stuff. Always, when you think that you're good, wait a second and step back, because that's when you get complacent.
That's really good information, by the way. It's the moment that you think that you're good that you realize this sport will humble you quick.
Very quickly.
Mm-hmm. It'll take a few times. You'll start to get to the place where you'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm good enough.
Yeah.
I know no one in here has ever done that. Said that. Nobody in the chat.
I'm just in my room.
You just have the biggest smile of everybody.
Yep, Sean's done it. The only time I think that you've you crashed into the cornfield one time.
I ran out of gas.
That's the only one I know about.
I ran out of gas, and that glider it's a little bit too big for my weight. I'm too light on it. So it was like an 8-mile-an-hour breeze was coming, and I was just kind of stuck floating going, oh, out of gas. Okay, well, maybe if the wind quits blowing, I could make it. It was the first 2 rows of corn. I have to say I'm very proud because it was in between the rows. The glider didn't land in the corn. It landed right next to the corn. Avoided everything. It was a beautiful landing. No damage to anything except for my pride a little bit.
There's always a positive here.
Yeah, there was no damage. I walked away unscathed. Glider was good. Prop, motor, everything was good. Yeah.
What's something that you won't leave the house to go flying without, Allie? And I'm not talking about your paramotor and your wing. Food.
Yes.
Okay, you take food with you. Please expound.
I eat all the time. So if I don't have a granola bar, a bag of chips, something to snack on, I'm not going.
Yeah.
All right. I like that.
Chocolate chip cookies are awesome for that, right?
Those are great too.
Yeah.
Do you have stuff packed away right now that you're like, oh, I got to get that out of there?
No, I
you
never
eat it every time?
Yes.
What's your go-to?
Salt and vinegar chips, chocolate chip cookies, or like the Oreo style cookies, or the Luna bars or Lara bars. So protein bars, things like that. Because if you decide on the spur of a moment, hey, let's go on a cross country, I'm not going without food.
Yeah, I have a couple protein bars just in case. Oh, there was something I wanted to mention. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sean.
I usually carry a box of those Cliff bars. They're like,
Yep, I have a Cliff bar in my bag right now. Yeah. I was going to mention something. I did a little XC video. Did I drop that video? Yeah, I already dropped that video. We launched from Little Black, and then I went to a few miles away. I did not realize how far I was going to end up walking from above. When we were losing altitude, I'm looking down at LZs and options and things. I see this area and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to try to hit the mountain. If I don't get any more lift, I'm just going to land here. And I found my spot. I ended up landing there. The park looked relatively small. It was a lake and there was a road that went all the way. It was like a walking path. It was like a mile or two worth of walking. In my mind, I was thinking, I'll just walk around and go to the thing. It was a long walk. And then this is when I thought about actually tonight about water landings. It's really deceiving how far something is when you're in the air. We're not birds. Like, we don't calculate that stuff very good. So consider that if you do, you're like, oh, I got floats. You land in that water. Sometimes you're out there, man. And I just can't imagine having to disconnect, swim away from my, $4,000 or $5,000 worth of gear. But this is where people croak, and a lot of people die from water landings. And I think that's why.
Was that Miramar?
Poway Lake.
Oh.
Yeah. Don't try this at home, kids. Yeah. Hey, Paramotor Fly Girl's in the chat.
Hey, Leah.
She asked a question of who your favorite paramotor flying girl is. But
I mean, I guess I'm I'm going to answer it with Leah. So she actually, it's a really funny story. I met her, I think it was like my 10th flight because I was down in Palm Bay, and I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I was scared to commit to power. And now I'm overzealous. I was scared to commit to power. I was launching in like mud. So my wing is still not beautiful. And she walks over to me after I failed 3 launches and I finally got up on the 4th. Ross is there with me. He's on comms because I didn't know what I was doing still and I was terrified. She comes over and she goes, "You have commitment issues." I'm like, yeah, yeah, I do. So it was really cool discussing with her what she saw from the outside rather than just the instructors that, you know, they were keeping me in this bubble. And she thought I had more flights under my belt. So it was awesome to have that. All right, get over it and let's go. Okay, let's do it. So that was really cool. Now I really like her.
Yeah, she's a champ.
Cool people. I met her at Palm Bay. Very, very cool people.
She always has some fantastic leggings.
Leggings, nice.
Yes. Like Grateful Dead leggings too. So they're the super crazy psychedelic ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's awesome.
nice. What do you think about cross country flying?
I love it.
Have you done it?
Yes.
Let's
Yes,
talk
I have.
about it.
That is what sold me on the sport. I did not love it until I did my first cross country. We did it was a fairly short flight. It was down to Avon Park and back. And it was just long enough that we needed to fill up and come back. So it was like maybe 40 miles round trip. And it was so exciting because it opened my eyes. It's like, there's so much you can do with this. It's also intimidating because you have to be on the lookout at all time for, well, I've got to stay really high here because if something happens, where am I going to land? Or this is a populated area. I need to make sure that I map it out so I go around it. So that it is fun and it's a challenge. And I think that's why it was so exciting.
What's your go-to for weather?
I don't use just one. My quick, it might be flyable, let me check it out, is Wind Alert. Because it's super easy to read, it's quick. And then I use Windy, and then I use like 3 other apps. So those are my top 2 though.
That's your first one that you look at, like when you're deciding I'm going to go XC. What's the Wind Alert?
Wind Alert is just the quick, is it even worth considering flying? And then if it's like, oh, it looks really good, then I'll pull up Windy. And then if I'm like, oh, this looks different, then I'll pull up another one. So I have like a little folder because I have an iPhone. You can build folders. So it's like a weather flying folder. That and boating,
Nice.
it all goes together. It's all the same.
I like it.
Hey, let's send out a shout out here real quick for Leah because she's in search of the N95 masks.
Oh gosh,
she literally has no masks for when she's seeing patients. So if anybody could send those her way, Leah Catula, it would be greatly appreciated. You know, it especially to her.
I've got 2 of them, and I need the one that I have because I use it over and over again. Probably not supposed. Mark Tatham.
Yeah.
Wow. Mark Tatham, thank you. He says, because you get cool people like Kyle on the show. Question: how do you ship your paramotor when you take a plane for an adventure? Ooh, that's a good one. Anybody on the panel, any of your moderators ever ship one? Allie, you ever ship one?
Make sure you pack it very, 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 very well. Because when you ship them, things happen. And UPS people don't treat your packages well. And I know it because I was one. So
Oh, dang, telling on herself.
they're heavy and they get dropped and they don't always come back square. So just make sure that you super pad them. If you have a cargo carrier like the Maverick for Parajet, they sell a carrier for packing it down and putting it in. Most of the companies do. I highly recommend packaging it into one of those bags and then shipping it inside a box.
And without a gas tank.
And
Or
with
at
an
least
empty
flush
gas
it, clean out the gas tank.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
empty it out.
Without gas in the tank.
You don't want to smell it.
Yeah. So, very good. Yeah. Tom Kubat said, ask Ross Gasaway about that.
Yes,
I've
exactly.
There's been a handful of stories I heard where people lose their gear, mostly free flight stories that I've heard where they, the first time I went to a free flight flying in Richfield in Utah, big flying, Red Rocks flying. And I was so afraid that they were going to mess up my gear. You know how they lose luggage? So I was like, when I put it on the conveyor belt, like, bye. If I don't see you again, you get attached to your gear, you know? Yeah, that's great information. I know Mark just got a motor. I'm waiting. Mark, where are you going? I need to know because I want to go. He's on a constant adventure. I went to the Red Rocks flying with Mark. It was a blast.
It's awesome.
There was some other questions from the chat. Some of them got answered already, but if you have any other questions for Allie, I would like to turn to the chat. And by the way, thank you for your donations and your contributions to the show. It keeps the show going. Your super chats are awesome. I really appreciate that. Spin again for a PPG smoke flotation.
There was one about do you keep a flight log, and do you log like each and every flight?
I do, and my hours. Every single time. And so I just put out a video, and it's not really the most exciting video, but it shows what I did to get caught up to my 100 flights. So that was super exciting. I did a bunch of like touch and goes, landing and going again in one night just to knock it out, because I wanted to make sure that before February was over, I had 100. So yeah, I like keeping track of that.
I think that's critical. Oh, I've got a question for you. What do you think about free flight?
I can't wait. I cannot wait to give it a try.
But you did some tows, so you got a little feel for it with no motor on your back.
I did. That is fine as soon as so my towing experience was the worst. And if you ask anybody, specifically ask Ross, he will tell you that he's surprised that I continued to push forward after my towing, because my first one was I turned into a balloon and he did not have me on throttle, and I just went whoop because I was way too light and they weren't used to towing somebody my size. The second one, the tow rope broke. So I didn't know what I was doing. It was like, hey guys, it's broken, and I'm showing my legs. I'm not on comms, or I didn't know I could be on comms. And I landed on the runway. The third one was, I did the same thing. I ballooned. The next day, they're like, you're going to tow again. I'm like, no more. I don't want to do it. The next day, I did a couple more tows, and they did not go well either. And then here I'm like, please tell me that flying is easier than this. But now that I have a handle on the wing and I have an idea of, how to control it, I would be way more comfortable doing free flight. I think it's super exciting. I can't wait.
Paramotor Crazy had a question. He said, when Allie goes to one of her races, does she take her paramotor with her to fly nearby? And what does she do with her motor while she sleeps in her car?
So I have not taken it to a race yet. The last one was at the Skyway Bridge, and there were National Guard with guns. So that was not going to happen.
What is this race that you speak of?
So I'm a runner.
Oh, okay.
So I run races as well.
Nice.
All of the hobbies. So yeah, I have not yet. I'm excited to, but everything is also shut down for all the races in the near future.
Yeah, I run. I'm running from the sickness.
Good save.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
You guys,
we
you guys
have to
got some other
talk
questions?
about
The
Tom's
clouds.
fly.
Ripman just
Yes.
reminded me. Yes.
So he made it a point that I needed to mention that one of my favorite flights is my first time above the clouds at Palm Bay. We flew out to the lake and he's like, "Oh, this is awesome up here. I'm above the clouds." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." He goes, "Have you been above the clouds?" Nope, I haven't. He goes, "Well, go ahead and gain altitude." I'm like, "How much altitude are we talking about?" Because Adam 80 compared to what he's flying is it's going to take me a while. And so I gained altitude, and it was the first time I was able to like fly above, and they're clear clouds. You can still see through them, but it was awesome. So there is your shout out, Tom. Thanks.
Dang. Yeah, we've had some it's very hard to get above the clouds here free flight. But we've had some days just in the last month where it's been big puffies and I still haven't got above, but I'm going to.
That's cool.
I will. What do you got, Sean?
Got a good one. Got a good one. Jim CR120 wants to know, and it's a very super important question here. What's the best way to get my wife more into PPG?
Money?
What's the best way to get his wife more into PPG? Just, off the top of your head. I mean, he comes up with great questions, and generally it's like, ooh, this is a good one. And I was like, oh, well, okay. Well,
no, that is a good one.
It is a good question.
There's
not a ton of women in the sport, right?
Yeah.
So it's a male dominated sport, which if you look around, a lot of the sports are, and it's intimidating being a woman stepping into it. You go into a class and it's all guys, or Aviator just had a class that was 2 girls, and it's totally unprecedented that there's 2 girls in the same class. So a lot of times at being a woman, you compare yourself to, well, that guy can carry an 80-pound motor. Why can't I? Oh, wait a second. I'm a lot smaller. So knowing that there's gear that you can carry that was a huge selling point for me, because I don't want to carry 80 pounds on my back. Throwing a reserve is probably going to put me close, but so that was a huge selling point. Knowing that if something breaks on the motor, they're a 2-stroke, they're super easy to work on. That was a huge selling point. Knowing that this is something, and he's married, he has a wife, you guys can travel together. What an awesome addition to your traveling. You take a motor home, or you travel, ship the motors, and you get to fly these places together. It opens up doors that you didn't think were there before. So that to me would probably be the biggest point. Also, I fly a pink motor. Like, it can't get any girlier than that. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it. It is intimidating. And it's not hard. It really, truly is not difficult if you're doing the basic flying. As soon as you step into doing crazy stuff, then, you face more challenges, but you can go at your own pace, and that is awesome. So, and I'm terrified of heights. So if I can do it.
No way. You're afraid of heights and you fly paramotor?
Don't like standing on the top of a ladder.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's encouraging.
I like that. That's pretty cool. This show is brought to you by Mike Cotter and the guys at flymyppg.com. Go check out their website. They're in the Michigan area. And if you're interested in getting some professional training, Mike and his team will help you to get the training you need. If you want to get a hold of them, there's a link in the description. This show is also brought to you by the paramotorprops.com crew. Those guys have the best deals on paramotor props on the web. I'm talking super good deals. Go check out their website, paramotorprops.com. Show is also brought to you by ppgsmoke.com. Ryan Roberts and his team that he's working with, they're making all kinds of cool stuff. He's really close to finishing an electric paramotor for people. That is going to be rad. But they're a sponsor of the show. Go check out their website, ppgsmoke.com. They're the ones that created the smoke machine, PPG Smoke, the Chase Cam by PPG Smoke, and then floats, lamels, strobes, He's even coming out with some stuff for your headphones so that you can communicate easier and more connectability with YouTube and all. I mean, this guy's a genius. Go check out his website, ppgsmoke.com. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, reach out to me at the website, paraglidingtalk.com, and we'll get your sponsorship rolling. Yeah. You guys don't know what to do now. You're just like, what do we do?
I don't know if this question's been asked already, but Jim CR120 wants to know, Allie, if you are planning on any SIV soon, and where would you go?
Maybe within a couple months. I haven't fully looked into it yet. I'd rather fine tune my basic skills, like my landings, my takeoffs, things of that sort, before I decide to go do any extra. I don't know. I'm comfortable with long distance flights right now. I'm not ready for any extra fun stuff yet.
Thanks, Jim.
Jim CR120 wanted to say thanks for the marital tips, Allie. So,
I
awesome.
mean, best of luck. I mean, you can always send her my way. I'll help her with like gear and things like that, but she has to do it on her own. If you were to force me into it, I would have run the other way and be like, nope, good luck.
Here's a good one. What is the most frustrating part of your training altogether? The whole experience, what was the most frustrating part of it?
I could not figure out how to pull flare and land on my feet.
You got it down now?
I actually pull flare all the way down to my butt now. That's the best thing that I've ever heard come out of my own mouth, by the way. So yeah, now I'm landing on my feet. It's an amazing feeling. It only took like 40 flights to get there. No big deal.
40 butt landings later.
Nope, face plants. We skipped butt landings.
So you don't break the gear. Smart.
Yes. My first face plant, I fall down and I'm like, but is it broken? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Is it broken?
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But that in the beginning, you were flying other people's gear. When it's your gear, you're like, no, I'm going to slide face first. That's fine.
Yep. But I didn't want to pay to fix someone else's gear either.
Right. Tom Kubat, $5. Thank you for donating to the super chat as we wrap this site. He said, good night, everyone. Thanks for the shout out, Allie.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, Tom Kubat. Love his channel, by the way.
Great guy.
Great editing skills. I need to up my game on the YouTube. Need some editing tips. Yeah, what was I going to mention? Flying, free flight. I was just going to mention something.
Snacks. It's about that time.
Yeah. It smells really good in here. My wife is cooking something amazing. I don't know what it is, but it smells great.
Hey, Allie, Mark Tatham, I don't know if somebody's asked this one. Has Allie flown in Moab? They have nice road races and great flying there. Any other exotic places you think you've flown? Do you know that you've flown?
No, not yet. Everywhere is on my list. So that's I've actually today I had exchanged messages back and forth with somebody who flies around the hot air balloons in Davenport, Florida. So I'm constantly like putting faces with names and places, and I'm super excited. But no, I've only flown in 3 states so far, so I'm just on the East Coast for now. We'll get there.
Never trust the skinny chef. Shane says he's approaching his 100th flight and still sucks at spot landings. How are yours?
They're getting much better. I'm within a couple feet. So there is a lot of learning still, but it's only 100 flights. How much flight time does he have? I mean,
100 minutes.
I think he trained in November.
Okay, that's totally fine. And how often does he fly? You know, you put all of that together and I fly every single flyable day.
And the conditions too. I mean, the conditions do play a big part. And,
They do.
you know, if the wind's blowing, if it's not, if it's gusting, if it's not, if it's changing directions, if it's not.
Every
Yeah.
single day is a different landing too. I mean, every flight's a different landing. You're right.
I think he might just be a little bit spoiled because he has the whole compound to choose from to land in.
Yeah.
If he had a smaller area that he had to focus on, I bet he'd be fine.
That's funny. He'll get there. If he's not there, he'll get there.
That's that last name, Bob Biltherac. Thank you so much for your contribution. $10 to the Patreon, or $10 to the super chat. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. He said he's late to the game, but he's here. Appreciate you. By the way, it's 7:00. Thank you so much for coming on, Allie. We're going to go to the after show. We've got all kinds of shenanigans that we entertain right after the show, so stick around. If you are a Patreon supporter and you would like to come on the after show, please shoot me a message right now in the chat. I'm going to keep the chat rolling, but we're going to go off the air for the after show. So thank you again. Really appreciate all the sponsors of the show. Appreciate you guys coming on, the moderators to keep the show going. Thank you so much. Let's take it to the next level. Paraglidingtalk.com. If I don't see you on the air, I'll see you in there. And thanks for watching. Have a good night.